We had the markets eagerly anticipating Q1 numbers in Ghana, positioning ahead of those releases. Now that a majority of them have been released, what's market sentiment like on that end?
I think the general performance of the companies for Q1 results have been mixed. You would have most of the companies showing very good results and others disappointing investors. So, for example, you have Standard Chartered Bank's PAT was down 36% for the first quarter. GCB's was 7.1% down compared to the previous year. These are companies that I think most investors were expecting them to show strong profits for the first quarter of this year. However, you have companies like Ecobank Ghana with PAT up 61%. Cal Bank also was up, even though SGSSB was down. So for the financial companies, which traditionally do well in the first quarter, the performance have been mixed for the first quarter.
Let's hone in on Standard Chartered Bank there, because as I touched on earlier, it extended gains on Friday on the back of the fact that we've seen a stock split emerge on that front. But looking at the numbers, as you said, disappointing, profits down. So what's impeding performance from their side?
Essentially, their interest income was down. I think they had a few challenges during the first quarter, which showed in their interest income, and their operating expenses were up. Standard Chartered, for the past 3 years, have shown most of the time, the first quarter, they have higher operating expenses than expected, sometimes maybe due to salary adjustments that they do or certain payments that have to be made in the first quarter. I think that is what happens. But on the back of that, you would expect that these results will tend to claw back these losses during the second and third quarters, and then they just finally trim it off in the last quarter. So I'm not too worried about Standard Chartered Bank's performance at this point.
What about a player like Ghana Commercial Bank, because this was a player that also disappointed to the downside on that Q1 results front? Well,
Ghana Commercial Bank followed similarly, just like how what happened to Standard Chartered Bank. The good news for them is that this time it was not due to huge provisions that they have made. The fall in PAT is not very significant. It's just about 7%. I expect that they will bounce back from it by second, third quarter.
To bear in mind, Winston, is that we do have the markets considering the impact of oil flows coming through later this year on, the kind of impact it's going to have on the overall economy and, in turn, the banking sector at large. To what extent have the markets priced that in already?
Well, I think you can just tell from how the index has behaved. Once the year started, the index was struggling to break through the 10% point. It hovered for a very long time around 8.7. For like 3 months. But once the first quarter results come, which was what I believe most investors were waiting to see what were going to happen in the companies, then you just see the index was able to just break through the 10, and now it's around 14.8%. I think because the results were mixed, it will slow down the growth a bit. But by second quarter, if all these companies, especially the financial companies, start showing very good results, I think it will be a very good year this year for investors on the Ghana Stock Exchange.